That's right. Friday morning, April 1st. I'm not playing around. You know exactly what it is. Yes, indeed. There's no jokes here. We're serious. We're talking how to push past the false promise today. Winning in the morning, you got about a minute to be able to share this with your friends. Yep. 57 seconds. Share with your friends. Winning in the morning right here. You're winning, coach. We're talking pushing past that false promise. The promise that we bite off onto so often and then we regret so often. 40 seconds. $20 seconds you got to be able to share it with your friends. The timing of that could not have been any more perfect, honestly, even if I tried. I did try, and it worked out flawlessly. Oh, welcome to Winning in the Morning. I'm your winning coach, Kinsley Jordan. Starting your day off right here, 7:47, as we're getting started on today's topic, which is near and dear to my heart, pushing past the false promise. Glenn, this is going to sound familiar to you, top of the morning. If you have not done it yet, you very much should do. Subscribe to the Winning Network. Just go to thewinningnetwork.com. Or if you're more of a tech-savvy person, you can do this right there. Text WINNING 405-645-7789. That's your ability to stay up with what is happening right here with the Winning Network so you can keep winning in your life. And just so you know, winning isn't a destination. No, my friends. It's a process. We love the process. We love the ability to grow processes in our lives and allow ourselves to grow each and every day. So if you love this, if you want more of this, then why don't you do yourself a favor? Go ahead and do this thing right there. Right there. Just go ahead and subscribe, like, share, follow, however it is that you consume this content. However you like to do it, you can do it. Stick with it right there. All right, this morning, we're diving straight into it. Pushing past the false promise. So here's the dealio. Here's the thing that is really interesting to me is there have been several times. I had this conversation, great friend yesterday, where we were talking literally about probably the hardest thing about helping people. One of the hardest, most challenging pieces about being a performance coach is being able to push past the reality, the hard part of being confident in who you are, the value that you have, the gift that you have, the ability that you have to be able to help somebody. And honestly, this was literally the hardest part for me. It was the hardest part for me to grab a hold of. It was the hardest part for me to realize is being willing to say, yeah, we can help you. Yes, 100%. Like we know what we are good at. We know what we're able to do. We know how we're able to help you. And yes, if you're looking for help, you should absolutely come to us. That's a hard thing to do. I don't know if you know that. It actually is a very difficult thing to do. It's a very difficult thing to get to the point where you say, you know what? I do actually believe in myself. I do actually know that I am capable of doing something great. I do realize that I have something to offer. It takes a lot to get to that place. I mean, honestly, it really truly does. It is not something that is innate. It's not something that is just like natural for people. It's not something that just you wake up in the morning and you're like, hey, I'm going to go tell everybody everything I'm good at. No, it's not that, because most people say, well, that's braggadocious. Why would you do that? This is why. It is not about the act of telling everybody what you're good at. It is about the discovery process of finding out what the actual truth is of what your value, what your gift, what that sweet spot is, as Ken Coleman talks about, what that sweet spot is in your life where you were made to do the thing that you were made to do. And this is why it was so difficult for me to literally to start the Winning Network and to start calling myself literally the Winning Coach, because that's what we do. We help people win. We help people get started and diving into it. The question for you this morning is this: have you honestly, holistically, and completely taken the time to ask yourself the really hard questions, to find out and drive down into discovering what the thing is that you can do that nobody else can do? The gift that you have, that you can confidently go to people and say, you know what, I can help you with this because I'm really good at that. I'm really good at this. Have you done that? Have you gone there? Mike Hoffman, top of the morning. Good morning. Guten Morgen to you, my friend. Have you done that? And here's the thing that's really interesting to me is that this is not you aren't too young, you aren't too old. There is no beginning or end to this process. This is a continual process. This is why when we talk about winning, when I talk about winning, I talk about it in the sense of, as Simon Sinek talks about, that winning is not there is no winning or losing when you have infinite thinking. It's staying in the game. And this is how I define winning, is staying in the game, staying in this thought process of constantly discovering and finding out how you can grow and how you can get better at what you're doing. And this is why this leads us to the discussion of the false promise today. Is because when you go through this process, when you're going through this discovery of asking the really hard questions, of finding out, why do I do the things I do? Why do I think the things I think? Why is it that I have the attitude about the things I have the attitude about? Why is it that I approach things from the perspective of how I approach them? This process, this is what naturally happens. It really is you get to a place where you start asking these questions. This is complete. I tell you, every client that I've had, every person that we've been able to help, every team member that we've had, we always get to this place, is that we start asking people, say, yes, I'm gung ho, I'm ready for growth. I'm ready to get the job of my dreams. I'm ready to go after my goals. I'm ready to establish healthy habits. And then we start getting to work. And the work is, we start asking some really uncomfortable questions, like really uncomfortable questions. And as you dive down and ask these questions, there becomes this divergent point. There comes this point, literally, with every single person that I've had the opportunity to help, every single business we've been able to help. There comes this point where the questions start getting uncomfortable. The reality starts to rear up in our face of a situation. We start seeing things from a different perspective. And we have this choice, this Y in the road, the great fork in the road, if you will. And the fork in the road is simply this. When you are faced with these walls that are not pretty, that are frankly kind of ugly, the things that, as we're asking these questions in self-discovery and discovery about ourselves and our business and what we're doing, as we ask ourselves these questions, there's this divergent point where we can get really defensive and we can have a lot of regret about the choices we've made. As we're looking at ourselves and as we're objectively looking at what has been going on in our life, it can really get to the place where we can get really, really pretty defensive. And not only defensive, but we can actually get to a place where we say, you know what, no, I'm good. Yeah, I learned my lesson. I'm good. Kinsley, yeah, this is awesome. We're going to take this information. Because when the going gets tough, the real hard fact of the matter is, we are faced with a choice. Are we going to address the issues that are not pretty? Are we going to address the things that have prevented us from growing for a long time? Are we going to address them head on? Or are we going to see this wall, this difficulty ahead of us, look at it and say, oh yeah, no, I know what that, no, I don't need to go through that. I'm totally fine. I don't need to walk through that. It's good. I learned my lesson. It's good. This is awesome. I see what that is. I don't need that. I'm just gonna apply that little lesson in my life. And this is why I tell you that turning around and not pushing through these hard discovery moments in your life and not asking these really hard questions, if you don't break through the barriers that have stopped you before, you will stay confined in the things that you have done and the experiences that you have had, and you will always wonder what could have been, but you will never discover what it was. That's going to be a sound clip later. It is. If you don't push through these false promises, if you don't push through these moments, these ideas, and I'll give you an example. 3 years ago, I talked about this. I guess at this point, it was 3.5 years ago. 3.5 years ago, I really went through this discovery process with myself. And this discovery process was simply this. I had some decisions to make, and I had to start asking myself these hard questions. And the whole reason why I talk about connecting people to their passion for a purpose to create that God kind of fulfillment in their life is because I didn't know what I was supposed to do. I didn't know what I was good at. I knew what the military had told me I was good at. I knew what people had told me that I was good at. But I had never discovered for myself what I was actually gifted with. What are the things that I innately am really, really good at? I'd never asked myself these questions. Never, not once. I had allowed other people to say what I was good, and I took their definitions, and then I started believing it. But I had never dug deep enough to actually find out what are the things that I should be doing. And this is why I say there comes this fork in the road. There is always this fork in the road. There is this really hard place where you come face to face with some of the ugly that you have a choice. You can either face it head on, you can look at it, or you can turn and say, "Oh yeah, I see that. I'm gonna go ahead and apply these lessons learned." But you're not actually gonna go through that hard place. This is why. It's because when I asked those questions, when I went digging for this, when I stayed in this process of continuing to try to get to the root cause of some of the frustrations and issues and anxieties. When I took the Enneagram and read it for what it was and saw the results, when I took my spiritual gifts assessment, I saw some things that that one, surprised me, and two, I was not very happy with, honestly. I found out that on the scale, my character, the way that I innately react and act about things, that it can actually be a great leader. It can actually be a great person, really encouraging. It can be a driving force, or it can be a completely toxic detriment to everybody around you. And you know what I found out? I found out that on that scale of being this inspirational, driven, person, leader, driving the people around you, encouraging the people around you, I was actually on the complete opposite side of that spectrum. And that as I looked at that and I saw the characteristics, or as it said, the samples of behavior, the behaviors that I was seeing in my own life, the feelings that I was feeling, the thoughts that I was having, the frustrations that I was encountering. As I looked at those things, I realized that I was on the not good side of the scale, that I was actually not in a healthy place at all. I was in a very toxic place in my own life. Now, if you had asked me if I was in a good place before I took this, before I was asking these questions, before I was doing this self-discovery, if you would ask me that, I would have said, "No, man, things are great. Like, things are awesome." But it was not until I started looking and learning and asking and diving into it that I actually found out I was not in a good place. And this is why I say you have to push past the false promise, is because it's really, really easy to look at the negative areas of your life and say, "Oh, okay, yeah, I need to change that," and then turn around and say, "Oh yeah, I'm going to change it." And say you're working on it, but you're not actually working on it. Because if you're working on something and you're trying to grow in something, that is an active process. It is not just I'm going to apply this to my life today and tomorrow. No. It has to be something that is at the forefront of your mind, that you are actively, intentionally walking through, thinking through, talking about, discussing, surrounding yourself with people who have gone through this before. That is what that process is. So when I saw these things in my life, it was easy to be able to say, it was easy to recognize the wall that I did not want to walk through. What was hard to do was to push past the ugly, to push past the moments that I did not want to experience, that I did not want to talk through, that I did not want to do, to get through those moments onto what I call the golden vein of success. And that is this, is when you push past that hurt, when you push past the false promise of thinking you have recognized what the ugly is, when you push past that, you get to a place where you're not just encountering and working through the ugly or the difficult anymore. Now you're actually getting to a place where you can take those lessons learned of the not good of what has been, of the moments where you could have regret in your past. You look at that and you say, you know what? I recognize that. I'm going to push through that barrier that I used to have. I'm going to actively work on not doing these things that have held me back before. And I'm going to take those lessons learned and I'm going to apply them to the future. And when you push past this false promise of recognition of our issues, and you say, no, I'm not just going to recognize them, I'm going to fix them. Boom! That's what I'm talking about. We're not just recognizing. As the Winning Network here in Winning in the Morning, you're not just recognizing the areas that you need to grow, you are growing in the areas that you need to grow. It's one thing to recognize that you have areas or issues or things that you need to do and grow in. It's another thing to commit to saying, I am going to push past the comfortable. I'm going to go right past it. I'm going to wave as I go by, and I'm going to start getting to the point where I can look at the things that have created me to be in an uncomfortable place and start getting to a place where I can be applying those every single day and growing. And this is why I say it doesn't matter what your age is. It doesn't matter when you start this process. It does not matter. People think, oh yeah, Kinsley, but hey, I'm young. What? I literally had this conversation with somebody. I'm 72 years old. This is way too late. No. It's not too late. If you still have breath in your lungs and you still woke up this morning, it is not too late to change the course of impact that you have in your life with the gifts and the skills and the talents that you've been given. It's not too late. We can make every excuse in the world that we want to say, well, there's not enough time and I'm already in this career and the kids have already grown. I can't go back and do that. Yes, you can. Who is telling you that you can't? You, oftentimes. Me, oftentimes. We are the only ones telling ourselves we can't do it. We're it. This is it. We're the ones. So if we're the ones that are often telling ourselves we can't do something, if we're the ones trying to convince ourselves that it's not, we're not going to be able to do it, we're not going to be able to accomplish it, if we're the ones that is a roadblock in our own way, don't you think it would be time to get out of the way and get on to actual growth of actually getting into the process? Went through something awesome up there. He said, here it is, learning is never over. I love it. Learning is a never-ending process. It is. And this is why here at the Winning Network we talk about we love the process, because winning is the process. It is not the destination, because we will continue to grow. We'll continue to work on. We'll continue to develop. We will continue to focus in the areas of how we can grow. But if you do not push past the barriers, the regret, the hurt, the fear, if you do not push past that, now I got to clarify this. I'm not saying ignore it. I'm saying you're working through it. You're actively working through it. And once you work through it, you're going to get to the other side where you're able to take those lessons of what used to be hurt and now recognize those as the greatest learning lessons that are impacting your life, moving forward and taking you to the place you want to be. Friends, it's been a hard hitter today. It was really quick, really fast, but I'm telling you, it was worth it. You got to push past the false promise today to get to the place you actually want to be. So today, I'm telling you, whatever that is, if there's something that you don't want to do, if there's something that you don't want to work on, if there's something that you are not actively wanting to have to get progress in, then that is the exact thing that we need to push through. That's the exact thing that we need to focus on today. My friends, get after it right now, right today. You can do it. We believe in you. Let's crush it today. Thanks for joining Winning in the Morning, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I apologize also. I was gone earlier in the week. Just did not get them pre-recorded. So, you know what? You get more of me next week. That's good. That's the good news. Boom. My friends, do it right there. Subscribe, like it, follow, share it with somebody today. Thank you for being with us. Let's get winning today. Hey, we'll see ya.